Welcome back, 3Fers. Faith, Family, and Freedom. I'm Bobby Allison.
I'm Mateo.
I'm the psychologist, and he's the theologian. Today, we're coming to you for a Rip from the Headlines episode. We've got some decrees from on high. Apparently, Joe Biden has ordered OSHA to start enforcing mass vaccine mandates to companies of over 100 employees or more, or what have you. There's some breaking news that 11 states have filed a lawsuit against these business mandates. But nevertheless, Joe Biden has saw fit to use a government bureaucratic arm known as OSHA to enforce these mandates. So we'll get into that and some other things. Here we go.
3F is a psychologist and theologian providing a much-needed commentary on the three most essential elements of life: faith, family, and freedom.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in today. We're talking about Joe Biden's latest OSHA control edicts as far as the mass vaccine mandates that he's laid down for us. What we're basically looking at in our view is socialistic type control or big brother, big government type dynamics that we as Americans tend to try to avoid as best we can. I mean, we're starting to see like King George type behaviors coming from down on high, the things that we left Europe to be free from. It's disconcerting to me. I think it's pretty disconcerting to Mateo as well.
Majorly disconcerting. It's civil liberties. That's what our free society is all about, and our rights according to nature, and nature's God. It's civil liberties. It's the whole thing of being an American citizen that makes it such a valuable, precious thing. And when we lose those liberties and the people that we elect are not protecting those liberties, that we all live in equality and in these pursuits, then we've lost what America is and what it's all about. We don't have an America anymore.
I agree. I mean, I think it's, we talked last episode about how border walls are a Christian thing to do. I think probably an anti-Christian thing to do would be to mandate others to violate their own bodily standards, their own privacy, medical privacy, their own body is my temple standards of how we treat our own bodies. I think people may make the argument that we give to Caesar that which is Caesar's. But I think we've discussed that in a previous episode that when the government is asking us to do something that runs counter to our own bodily sovereignty, that might be an issue that we choose to stand up against the government and trying to mandate.
And so this mandate that's going to be enforced through OSHA, I remember hearing about this a while ago, but has it gone from a possible mandate to it is now official, with the exception of these 11 states that are going to sue or attempt to sue Biden? Is that what it is?
Well, initially, it was just a strongly worded statement from the president. He said that we're going to mandate these things, and utilize OSHA as the enforcement arm. And then after that, we didn't hear anything. And then most recently, we've started to hear that OSHA has been informed, and OSHA will start in these next few weeks to start to mandate these larger companies. And again, it's not small businesses per se. It's companies of over 100 people or more. So that doesn't affect small businesses with less than 100 people, which is probably most of small business. But you're looking at companies like local companies here in Florida, like Walgreens and Home Depot and Merlin Entertainment that runs Legoland. You're looking at those people being forced to get a vaccine. And I know many of them personally that have chosen not to get the vaccine for various reasons. Mateo is vaccinated. I am not. I've had COVID. I know for a fact that I have antibodies because my wife and I have been tested for those antibodies. So we've chosen not to get the vaccine. A lot of us have made that decision for various reasons it's our sovereignty. It's our personal decision between us and between our maker that we do that. And yet we have this government entity that's going to start enforcing some of these people, a large percentage of that population, to either get vaccinated or leave their jobs.
So you mentioned Walgreens. So when it talks about a company over 100 people, we don't just mean a specific location. Because, for example, I can have a Walgreens that only 20 people are employed and part of that Walgreens. Or I don't know how many employees you have in a fast food rotation, be it like a McDonald's, Burger King, Subway. But even if my location, my franchise is less than 100 people, if that franchise or entity is part of a corporation of more than 100, it will affect every individual franchise or store, even if that location has less than 100. Is that correct?
It might be. That's the stupidity of this whole thing. So we're giving OSHA, this before rather benign organization that does safety, food safety, health safety type enforcement. They don't even enforce the thing. So essentially, when an entity is shut down by public health, they might have been shut down by an investigator from OSHA that goes into, say, my wife's dental office. They will go in there and make sure that the autoclave has been inspected, that that there's no breaches of security or breaches of any type of health safety or security that might be vulnerable. So they go in and make sure that for instance, the autoclave has been updated or serviced, that the dental equipment is up to date, that the tools that they're using are not expired, those types of things. Those people are OSHA. They go into businesses to make sure that everybody's to code, everybody's up to date on the rules. So now they're going to be able to go into each one of these businesses. And like you just said, there's so many caveats to what is a big business. They're going to have carte blanche authority to make these decisions to a certain extent as they have this new authority.
Well, then just for a little perspective too, outside of the medical profession, I have to be honest, I'd never really thought of OSHA in the medical profession because I had always known OSHA in the construction industry when I did theming and fabrication. OSHA is who we had to be in compliance with, that people were wearing hard hats, the right type of shoe, that our construction equipment was up to date, and that on installs we had things right. So I had always thought of OSHA as like a construction thing. But so I guess they go into medical construction. They've covered a large
so heretofore they can make you wear that hard hat to protect your body, but they've never been able to make you put something into your body.
Yeah, I guess that's how it would be for us. And the idea is that if you had an employer that was going to cut corners, that OSHA would keep employers or business owners honest to keep their employees safe. So a business owner can't just say, I don't want to waste the money on hard hats. But I guess what you have here, though, is like you say, we're talking about something that a lot of people still aren't comfortable with, which is taking that vaccine. So there aren't necessarily people who would say, I want my employer to have to make sure that I'm vaccinated. You probably have some people that want everyone in the world to be vaccinated, that say, yeah, I think OSHA should force all my other coworkers to be vaccinated for my sake. But then I think you have just as many people who don't want to be vaccinated. So whose rights are we protecting here?
That's the slippery slope here. That's what's at stake. Like Joe Rogan mentioned, to much of the media's chagrin and the political establishment's chagrin, that he basically said their quiet part out loud. When the government gets a new ability or authority, they hardly ever or probably never give that authority or ability up. So right now we have a vaccine that's been, it's been pretty well researched. I mean, it's largely fairly safe, but there's still some worrisome statistics out there, and there's some worrisome after effects of the vaccine itself. Some people are affected more so than others. That kind of makes people want to be a little bit more discerning in their approach to it. For instance, if you have the antibodies, it may be more dangerous for you to get the vaccine at that point versus, taking your chances with getting the virus again and letting your antibodies take control, which is essentially what the vaccine does anyway. It just gives you the antibodies. So now we have the government in an authoritarian manner forcing these mandates on everybody. That it's unsettling. It's the very behavior of a socialistic regime or an authoritarian fascistic regime that we all, always say we fear when Trump was in office. He was the new Hitler. He was going to take control and do all these things to us. And now we have the true perpetrators of that type of dynamics right in front of us. This leftist cabal that, why do they so badly want everybody to fall in line? I don't think it's about public safety. I don't think it's about public health. I think it's about politics and power. They want this to be the thing that facilitates authoritarianism. They want that, never let a crisis go to waste. They want to utilize this vaccine by saying that it's for the greater good. Once we cross that line, doing something as a nation for the greater good and giving up those rights that we'll never get back, because the government doesn't give back rights once it's taken them. So this is a line that I think we're going to find that we need to uphold. We need to fortify our position here. I mean, if you've been vaccinated, more power to you, but I think you have to be sensitive to your brothers and sisters that want to uphold their freedoms and choose not to get the vaccine. It's going to be tough for you. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance. That's a psychological term that basically suggests that, once you've crossed the line of behavior in yourself, you try to justify it in various ways. So, the dissonance factor here is that I've gotten the vaccine. What's the big deal? Just everybody fall in line. But remember, there's a bunch of us that are holding that line because it's about freedom. It's about not making a decision because we're forced to by a government that wants this authoritarian decision to be made such that there's muscle memory for further breaches of our rights.
Yeah, because you have to look at the long game, and like you're saying, even if you were comfortable with this vaccine, are you going to be comfortable with the next one that's mandated?
Yeah.
And you've got to look at that long game, because what if the next one has even more questions than this one does, and is even less certain than this one?
Or even if it's this vaccine. I mean, notice how long before the boosters become mandatory? And then it's like a yearly or every 6 month thing where go get your shots, people. Let's go get our shots. And over time, what else is in these shots? We already know Bill Gates is involved in all of his anti-population control type or pro-population control type scariness that he tries to push at various times. I mean, Bill Gates is involved in the synthesis of these vaccines. So how does that vaccine change over time? If we start to lose the ability to control this ourselves, what does that look like 20 years down the road?
I think that's such a huge part of it is, with good reason, many of us don't trust our government today, with very good reason. There have been vaccines in the past that everyone takes, that all kids have to take, that everyone came to agree were either safe or worth the risk. And everyone's been on board for it, and we take it today. We take them or have our kids get them these days without these issues. But at that time, everyone was working for the same thing and trusted the government. The big thing is we've been given so many good reasons not to trust our government. We saw high-ranking bureaucrats commit multiple illegalities just because they did not like Trump, who was elected by the people. And so, people from the military complex and intelligence agencies committed felonies and crimes that they haven't been prosecuted for, to go against our civil rights and liberties to elect our own leader. And so when we've seen so many instances of our government committing felonies and lies, I mean, can you really blame large swaths of the population for not trusting that government at this time. If we could trust our government, this wouldn't be the issue that it is today, because so many of it, whether it's Fauci or others, we've heard so many different things. We've seen so many agendas that you can't just expect people to lemming up or sheep up and just do this without questioning. Too many high-ranking government people have proven themselves to be felons.
That's a good point. I mean, I've thought about, in a discerning manner, the idea of getting the vaccine. I've asked my wife, we talked about whether it's a good thing just to do it or not. And, we've come to this conclusion because of the research that we've done. The Brownstone Institution, is a good source of, research articles to get, the latest up-to-date information on vaccines, the herd immunity factors, the fact that, natural immunity is more powerful than vaccine immunity. The Brownstone Institute is where you can get that. I'll put the link up on Patreon. But I've never thought about it. So if the government actually did right, for instance, we know that Fauci's been on every side. If they fired Fauci, if they made General Milley resign, if they started to do the things, they got rid of all the chameleons, all of the Hillary Clintons of the world. Thank God McAuliffe lost his race. Those people, if they could address those people and get those people out of, positions of power. And I know there's a lot more than that. And we have just as many on our side of the aisle, but it's just, if we could start to actually do right by each other, I think you'd have a lot more people deciding to get vaccinated. But it's just, that's a good point. I just don't trust them right now.
Yeah. And look at it this way. In the recent election, where Glenn Youngkin wins and Winsome Sears wins, Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow tell us that it was white supremacy that led to their election. The 1.6 million people apparently are all white supremacists who voted for Youngkin. Well, Winsome Sears, a black female, had 1.6 million plus votes. So these same 1.6 million white supremacists voted a black woman in. Well, that's hard to wrap your head around because it's garbage, what Joy Reid and these people are telling us. So I see such disingenuousness from them on that. And then they turn around and tell me and swaths of people that we should just take this vaccine. I can't trust you now because of the garbage you just spit out on the others. And that's just one example. Joe Biden in one breath is going to give $450,000 to illegal border crossers. And in another breath, he says, no, that's not true. Well, now it is true. If you're going back and forth, now how can I trust anything you tell me about COVID and the vaccine when it is so clear you're lying to me in other areas and not shooting straight with me?
It's a simple, face valid fact. I mean, you have to trust the people around you to a certain extent. And we just have zero trust for these people that we're paying tons of tax money to. I mean, and to give that to people that cross our border illegally, it's just such a blasphemic type of dynamic. I almost kind of hope they pass that. I almost kind of hope they agree to settle these cases with these migrants that came over and were separated during the Trump administration, because that would totally, I think that would totally jump the shark situation. I mean, that would totally
wake up the last sleeping.
I think the
people.
rest of, so there's probably 40% of liberals that are still hanging on. That I think would get rid of about 20. You have your 20% that are probably hardcore, that just diehard leftists that want to change this country from the cornerstone. But I think that decision right there would get rid of that half of that base. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know how diehard they are, but that's just such a bad idea. We're looking at Gold Star families or 9/11 victim families that get less from the government for their sacrifice than somebody coming across the border illegally, knowing full well they'd be separated from their child because it's an illegal act. And you can't, I mean, who goes to jail with their kids in America anyway? I go to the jails every week, and I've never seen inmates in there with their kids. I think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's insanity that everything we see so many of these deep state and Biden administration people doing, it's wacko world, because it's exactly what you do to destroy a country and to not protect your people. And when you see this, again, how can you trust anything these people say on COVID and the vaccine? Now, as Bobby said, I have the vaccine. I am comfortable with this vaccine, and I'm pro-vaccine if it's not mandated. I'm not trying to instill a lack of trust in the vaccine. What I'm trying to say is anyone out there who would say it's not right for anyone to question or not want this needs to absolutely change that level of thinking and say there's plenty of rationality and reason behind questioning anything the current government tells us, because they have only shown that they are an enemy of patriotic Americans to this point.
I agree. Yeah, get the vaccine if that's the right choice for you and your family. A large swath of my family is vaccinated, and I thought it was a good idea for them. I have family with immunocompromised situations and comorbidities that make them more susceptible. So I thought that was okay. So, but for me, that's a different thing altogether. Be discerning. One of God's gifts to us is a discerning mind, and we need to be in control of our bodies. Our body is our temple. We need to make discerning decisions about this, because we only get to do this once. So you only get one body until you get your immortal body.
And anyone who's being forced to make the decision of walking away from a job,
and a lot have.
Or business owners that don't want to force these kinds of things. We just need to stick with each other and support each other and get each other through this.
Yeah. There's a lot of cops, a lot of healthcare workers, a lot of pilots. We know for a fact, we've seen them come out of the woodwork these last few weeks that, hey, this deadline's coming, and that's when I'm done. See these officers signing off for the last time. Emotional. Can't believe this is happening. It's like, why are we doing this to our country?
And yeah, hopefully it's that there are so many anti-Christian, evil, twisted people that have gotten in deep in our government. There's lots of good people, but there's lots of bad people. And hopefully all this is a shakeup or a forest burn to get rid of the chaff, so that we can rebuild with good people and not lose everything.
And that's why they're doing it. If they can make you do this to compromise your values, they can do anything. That's how you got Nazi Germany. They can make you do anything. Once you give up that sovereignty, you're done. So keep that in mind.
But it's a big play on their part.
Right.
Because the other side of it is, if people don't just go along, they've possibly set their own trap. So,
which I think we're seeing. The Youngkin election is just that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Virginia was a blue state for a long time, so a lot more people are waking up that have been asleep, and that's a very good thing for America, because too many of us have been asleep for too long. More and more people are waking up and realizing, we've got to get back to the founding principles of protecting our civil liberties.
And it's as next to godliness as anything. Civil liberties. That body is our temple. It's important. So hold that line. You have to have a line somewhere where you're going to uphold your values, your Christian values. So good luck, guys.
For exclusive content and bonus footage, please subscribe to our Patreon page at patreon.com/3fcommunity. That's patreon.com/3fcommunity. We'd love to have you join the family.